Hello and welcome to another episode of the Veterans Corner. My name is Chuck Woodin. I'm joined by my co-host, Donna Dunyan.
Hi, everyone.
We're back after our big show of 300.
Yeah,
And
301 now.
now we're at 301 and we're shooting for 600 this time. As always, we have a great show here tonight. Very, very informative. It's a topic that as we've been talking, it should have been out a long time ago, but I'm glad we're here talking about it today. With us again, Bob, you've been here before.
Yes, sir.
Quite a few years ago.
Quite a few years ago. Huh?
Bob Havens and Catherine Serzan. Say that right?
Perfect.
That's a first.
Yep. We'll mark that down. Right.
Welcome to the show.
Thank
to the
you.
show.
Thank you.
The topic we're talking about today is actually male breast cancer awareness. And for many out there, they don't know that it's actually a problem. No. And we're actually going to hear the story of a survivor today.
So, Bob, why don't you let's just jump right in, because I'm sure that we're going to have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
So tell us your story.
Sure. Be happy to. And thank you for having us. You're helping us meet our goal of getting the word out to as many men and women, by the way, which we'll be talking about male breast cancer and making folks aware. Our mission is to hopefully save some lives, get people asking their doctors about this condition that many don't even know exists. I've talked to men myself who have said, breast cancer, how could you have breast cancer? Men don't get breast cancer. I had an oncologist share that with us, with people she gets to see. So it's time to get the word out. So my story, in July of 23, yep, July of 20, you'll see me do that a lot because she's the one who got me through this thing. So you'll hear more about that after. But in July of 23, I had for about 9 months had some problems. I lost a lot of weight. May not look it, but I really did, Chuck. I lost a lot of weight. And I was going through some physical changes. I had a small lump in my chest that I didn't pay much attention to. And then I said, well, maybe I need to see a dermatologist. Maybe it's something to do with my skin shrinking because I was losing weight. And then one day I'm in the shower and all of a sudden I look down and I see blood mixing with the water in the shower. And what was going on was my nipple on my left breast was actually separating from my chest muscle, causing the breakage. Now here again, this went on for almost 9 months, these different things happening. I started buying a lot of Band-Aids because I didn't want to ruin any more shirts.
Yeah.
So I kept Johnson & Johnson in big bucks for quite some time. And I'm patching myself every day. And then I said, well, maybe I'd better make that appointment with the dermatologist. And then I let that go. And I said, well, in another month I have my physical. So finally I went for my physical. And I said to my primary when she asked, has anything changed, anything new? I said, well, it's probably nothing. But I have a problem with my nipple. It's been bleeding. She said, what? When did this start? And actually a part I forgot to mention is my nipple had inverted about 4 months before the bleeding started. And she said, let me look at that. She did look at it. And she said, well, you know what I have to do. And I know immediately what she meant. She'd have to get me to probably an oncologist. And she said, hold on. And she made a phone call and made an appointment for me right then and there for a mammogram and an ultrasound. So I went to Smilo Hospital in New Haven, got the mammogram, got the ultrasound. Immediately after that, they said, we need to do a biopsy. This is all happening now within weeks, a couple of weeks apart. Had the biopsy done, and after a week, got the results. And believe me, you sweat that week out. Mm-hmm. And then you start convincing yourself it can't be that bad because they would have gotten back to you sooner. Don't believe that. Not the case. It just took them that long. And sure, it was a Friday. I'll never forget it. My primary called and she said, Bob, I'm really sorry. She said, but your tests came back and they are positive. And she said, I've already called a surgeon who was a friend of hers You have an appointment. And she made the appointment for me before she even told me about the cancer. And so 2 weeks after that, we met with the surgeon. His name is Dr. Berger. And when she came into the room, the first thing she said when she came in, which I'll never forget, made me feel good and Catherine feel good, was, look, I want to say something before I even sit down. This type of cancer is treatable and can be curable. And it's like inside, it's like, whew, okay, so what do we,
Relief.
but what do we do? What do we do now?
How do you do it?
And at that point, Dr. Berger went through the options. Option being a mastectomy or a lumpectomy. Difference being the mastectomy would remove everything, the lumpectomy would remove the tumor. And she said, now what you need to know is the prognosis on both is identical. However, there are conditions on which you choose. If you have the mastectomy, you'll wear a drain for a while, a couple of weeks. And I had read something about this. I didn't want a drain.
Yeah.
She said, but with the lumpectomy, you're going to need radiation therapy also. We talked about it and we said, that's okay. I can do the radiation. Well, from that point, within another 2 weeks, I had surgery on August 31st to have the tumor removed. The tumor, which they thought was about 1.5 centimeters, ended up becoming 3.5 centimeters. Some of the good news out of the surgery was that the immediate tissue around it wasn't affected, and they took lymph nodes at the same time, and they weren't affected. So next we met with the oncologist. She really steers the ship, the oncologist. And she said, we have a new test we can do now, and depending on the results of that test, the number that comes back will determine whether or not you need chemotherapy. No one mentioned chemotherapy before, just maybe radiation.
Surprise.
Sure enough, never being good with numbers, the number under 25 was okay, over 25, not okay. I was 32. She said, we ought to really do this. So now I had to begin 3.5 months of chemo. That was not fun. The worst part about it, or a lot of worst parts about it, but one of the worst parts about it was the fatigue. The amazing fatigue where you could do nothing. And I know a lot of you folks out there who've gone through this or with a loved one know what I'm talking about. Catherine asked me one day, can you tell me what it's like? And I said, immediately, I said, yeah, just imagine you're sitting here and all your limbs have died. I couldn't text, couldn't push the...
Yeah, there's nothing.
There's nothing happening.
There's no strength.
You don't eat, you have no appetite. I mean, so I had 4 treatments over 3.5 months, one every 21 days. And like clockwork, on the 4th or 5th day, when the steroids wear off, I went through 9 to 11 days of that fatigue, knowing that when you felt a little better at the end of that, within days you're going to start again. So we got the chemo, and Catherine's going to talk a little bit about her role in all this, both the chemo. And then from there, they originally said I would need 24 radiation treatments. Mm-hmm. So now we go to meet with the radiation oncologist, and she says, okay, so we're going to get you started on your 30 treatments. I said, they told me 24. Could you really pay attention, by the way, when these people are messing around with this stuff? And she said, she said, the reason why we're going to do 30 is you had what we call skin involvement. Oh. So remember when I told you about the separation and the bleeding?
Yes.
Come to find out, those were actually cancer cells pushing the nipple away from my chest. And she explained that with skin, help me, honey.
With skin involvement?
And skin involvement. With skin involvement, cancer cells normally in breast cancer will move from the breast to the lymph nodes. Mm-hmm. But these little critters, as they call them, sometimes get a mind of their own when there's skin involvement, and they might decide to take a different path. So we're not only going to do the area, we're going to do the lymph nodes here, the lymph nodes here, and the lymph nodes in the center of your chest. And that's why we need the extra week, because that last week we really target big time that area. I said, okay. So that started 30 days of radiation treatments, 5 days a week, driving to New Haven, Some of them were longer than others because a couple of times the machine broke down, believe it or not. Last thing you want to hear when you're getting gamma rays or whatever they are through your body, time out, we have a malfunction. At one time, I had to actually get up off the table and go sit in a chair because it took the technicians coming down to fix the machine. The other thing I had to do through radiation, which I found interesting, is she said, we're going to ask you to hold your breath. The reason for that is with breast cancer, when they're hitting all these areas with radiation, they really are trying to protect your heart and your lungs from the radiation. So they'd make me take a deep breath. Sometimes you had to hold it 25 seconds, and if you're not used to that, that's a long time. Hold your breath. What that would do is expand your lungs and move your heart out of the way. And then they'd hit that area without damaging the heart. So it was pretty trying. Went through all the radiation treatments. I finished that up on March 4th. It's hard to believe it's been a year. And then I saw my oncologist again, and I am now on tamoxifen, which is a medication that I'll take for at least 5 years as a preventative. If anything pops up, hopefully this stuff will kill something that pops up. But as of right now, I am considered cancer-free and taking the next step in the journey.
That's great to know.
Wow.
So that's sort of a synopsis.
And it hasn't even been a year
No.
since your surgery.
No.
Wow.
No.
One thing that we forgot to mention at the beginning, Navy veteran.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
When did you serve?
65 to 69. Did a year in Vietnam with a squadron they called the Ghost Squadron, VO-67. It was a clandestine volunteer operation, and when we finished the mission, we lost 20 guys in 6 weeks toward the end of the mission, and we couldn't talk about it for 30 years after coming home. Signed papers that we wouldn't do that or we would end up in federal prison. So the technology was, we were laying electronic sensors along the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Laos, where the United States said we weren't participating. So we couldn't talk about that for a very long time. It's quite an experience.
On behalf of the Veterans Corner, our viewers want to thank you very much for your service.
Yes, sir. You're welcome, and thank you. Appreciate that.
And it's good to remember that it was Navy.
Navy, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Very seldom usually I'm up there by myself. It's Marines or Air Force or Army.
Yeah.
It's great to have a fellow sailor up here.
There we go.
Catherine,
Yes.
can you share with the viewers your role as a caregiver and the physical and emotional impact that you've been through? I mean, as a caregiver and what you've witnessed, for the patient.
Right. As a caregiver, it's very difficult because this is your loved one. And so you almost wish it's you rather than them. And what you do is you actually talk yourself into the fact that you have to be strong. So no matter what, you have to be strong. And you become the person who administers the meds. You kind of monitor the treatment schedule. You're the cheerleader, the encourager, and then you become the enforcer. On the days when you hear, I don't care, I'm not eating, I don't care, I'm not drinking. And Dr. Kanowitz was Bob's oncologist, so I would say, well, I don't have a problem with that, but I'll call Dr. Kanowitz and see what Dr. Kanowitz has to say about that. So it'd be, all right, I'll have a little water. But
Just don't make the call.
yeah,
Don't make that call, please.
not that call. Not
She's
that
like
call.
4'9".
Yeah.
I'm scared to death of her. I do anything she says.
It's a very trying role, but it's very critical. It's critical that in addition to taking care of the patient, you're also trying to take care of yourself to some level. You become the communicator of, the news, the good and the bad to others. You're calling family members to share the information, and they're saying, okay, but are you all right? And I'm fine, I can handle this. And I think that's one of the things that is a pitfall in caregiving, is that it's almost delusional. You delude yourself into thinking you're just fine. I wasn't just fine when Dr. Berger walked into that office and said it's cancer, because I thought, he's so strong. I mean, he has quite a presence in a room, and I thought, he'll be fine. He'll be fine, you know, and I'm trying to quell his nerves while I'm thinking, you know, please let him be all right. So when you get the news and you then shift into the caregiver role, it's a little difficult because, you know, sometimes you're doing things you don't want to do. I'm very good-natured and we're very loving with one another, and the last thing you want to do is take a hard line. But sometimes you really have to do that. Caregivers also suffer from burnout. So you have to try to gauge what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then you have to administer your care, giving dignity and respect to the patient. And sometimes that's hard because, you know, you forget that they're on the receiving end of everything you're saying. So you have to be very, very delicate. You know, he's a very independent person. You know, a hero, Vietnam hero. And here we have this man who needs to be totally almost dependent on me. And, you know, you have to approach different subjects very delicately, such as your stability isn't where it needs to be. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, yes, it is. It's like, And he actually had a fall in our bathroom, which ended up with him fracturing 3 ribs. So, you know, everything is kind of off. And then they have a tendency when you're receiving chemo to suffer from what they call chemo brain.
Yeah.
They can't remember anything.
Yeah.
So he'll say something and then he'll say, I didn't say that. And, you know, you can't take those things on as a battle, so to speak. The things that are important and the things that you'll probably want to have strong discussions about are treatment issues.
Yeah.
And follow through in eating and hydrating and things of that nature. I think that caregivers kind of walk this path alone because when you get in bed at night, you're the one that's next to the patient. You're the one that you have all these thoughts racing through. Did I make the right decision? Did I say the right thing? You know, you're administering meds. I'm not a nurse, you know, and you're thinking, oh, gee, you know, I keep counting those pills to make sure I'm doing everything the right way. So you almost start to second guess yourself, which can really dampen the effectiveness of the care that you're trying to administer. So I think that caregivers really need to almost have like a timeout and kind of step away from things when they can and get some moments.
I know, I mean, you know my medical history. And,
Yep.
Yes.
yeah, I mean, I was down a couple times, and we could be bears.
Yeah. Yeah, we can.
You know, I mean, caregivers, and you know, you're always sitting there trying to not have that look on your face of,
Right.
you know,
Can't let them see you sweat.
yeah,
You're panicking inside about what the next step
Exactly.
is going to
Yeah,
be.
that's
But
good.
you can't let them see your nervousness.
Good analogy.
Right. I mean,
one thing I forgot to mention in the beginning, you know, we see the SASH. It's Miss Connecticut Senior World.
yes. Yes.
You're going on to represent Connecticut.
Yes, I am.
At the national level.
Yes, at a national level.
Mississippi.
Yes, Biloxi, Mississippi in November, and hoping that that will at least garner a lot of attention toward my platform, which is male breast cancer awareness. And that's why I ended up doing this. In Bob's honor.
Well, you kind of took my question away from me, Chuck.
Well, I when I did the introductions, I forgot to.
So that, what other events are you doing to help promote this mission that you both have?
Right. We've been very fortunate. You know, we're talking with the newspapers. I think the main thing is that's really opened the doors for us is Yale. They have been absolutely wonderful. When we spoke with Bob's oncologist, Dr. Kanowitz, and I told her what I wanted to do, I said, I'd been asked before to be in this pageant, and I always said no because I didn't have a platform. Now I have a platform, male breast cancer awareness. She said, whoa, wait a minute. I've got to get you hooked up with our PR people. And immediately they were calling us and they were doing everything and opening doors. And we've been very, very blessed with that. And for that, we're most thankful. So they're kind of scheduling newspapers, TV, etc., and working very hard with us to get the word out.
Oh, that's awesome. That's wonderful. So, Bob, you're being a veteran. Do you feel there's any correlation between male breast cancer and being a veteran and your time in service, specifically in Vietnam?
Okay, so the direct answer is from Bob Havens. Yes, I do. Now, just recently in June, middle of June, through the PACT Act, male breast cancer has been added as a presumptive condition, service-connected, for troops who served after 9/11, Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, and it's now accepted by the VA as a legitimate presumptive condition. So those of you who don't know that, get in touch with your service reps, get your claims in, because you are now in that. Now, that's over here. Now, the other part of Bob Havens is Vietnam. I'm on partial disability already for exposure to Agent Orange for type 2 diabetes. One of the things I mentioned to our oncologist almost in the first, I said our oncologist, almost in the first meeting was, are you seeing men around my age coming up with, well, yeah, it has gone up a little bit. And I went into my Agent Orange pitch. And I said, anyone doing any work on this? And well, not really. But, bottom line is they're not doing much work on male breast cancer, right? So, as I was mentioning to Donna before we went on the air, our next project is, during this period of time, we're going to go out and meet with veterans groups. I'm going to mention it to every single one of them, about if you're post 9/11, you qualify. And you Agent Orange folks out there, let's start talking this up. Let's get the word out and get them thinking about it, because a toxin is a toxin.
Yes.
And it says very clearly in the paperwork of the PACT related to toxins. Now, one of my biggest drives behind this is after I went through all of this for my family, for my children and cousins and relatives, is I had genetic testing done. They tested me for 37 cancer genes. I came back 100% negative, including breast cancer. And they also clearly stated in that report, most likely environmental. So in my heart, I believe it is connected to that. And I think in a matter of time, we'll get that added for Vietnam veterans with Agent Orange. So that's the next campaign we're going to go on.
You had said something, I remember reading in, I think it was an email to you, or it might have been in the article at Yale, the burn pits.
Right, yeah, and that's what's qualifying through the PACT Act for the post 9/11 folks, and the burn pits in Afghanistan, Iraq, and those places.
That's one topic we haven't had on the show.
Be a good one to have.
Yeah.
Certainly
We've
would
had
be.
Agent Orange so many
Right.
times with Jerry.
Yeah, be a great one to have.
Well, we got about a minute and a half left. We want to thank you.
Thank you.
Love to have you back.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
And
Sure.
I'm sure we can talk more on this topic, and you can give us an update as far how things are going.
Absolutely.
We're happy to.
Be happy to. Yep.
You want to talk about
The fundraiser?
an event coming
An
up?
event coming up, yes. So many of you know I am the executive director for Veteran Strong Community Center, and we do have our annual fundraiser coming up. It is called Whiskey for Warriors. More information can be found on our website or our Facebook page. The date is September 7th, 2024, at 6 p.m. at the Doubletree in Bristol. But again, if you would like more information, it can be found on our Facebook page or our website.
Great. Anything else going on at the center?
Just busy, busy, busy. It comes and it rolls in, rolls out. But maybe we'll have some new stuff coming down the pike soon.
Well, 1 minute. That's all we got left. So once again, we want to thank you. And
Thank you.
once again, I mean, this show here, I missed the introductions as far as military.
Yeah.
One other thing I forgot is congratulations on your engagement.
Oh, thank you.
I didn't know.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we did that right in the middle of chemo, actually.
Right.
Right in the middle of chemo.
Yeah, and we said this is not going to slow us down. So after my second treatment, we got engaged.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
if you can stick through that.
Yeah,
Right,
thank you
that's
for remembering
exactly-
that. That's very nice.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to let cancer define us.
No,
We define
no,
ourselves.
that's what you
Absolutely
can't. You can't.
Well, with that being said, that's all the time we have. I want to thank you again.
Thank
it was
you.
so great to see you.
You too.
So nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chuck.
You'll be
so
back here
much.
again.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Look forward to it.
Thank you, Donna.
Donna,
Thank
I
you,
guess
Donna.
that's just about it for this episode.
Right.
With that being said, I want to say thank you to the viewers for watching. I want to say good night. Till the next time, good night.
Nick Augustino right here at the East Side Restaurant. We always have the complete full dinner menu. Knockwurst, bratwurst, sauerbraten, potato pancakes, red cabbage, rice pudding, cream pies, all the desserts that Germany had to offer. I always do something different. Yes, I do. I brought seafood to the beer garden at the East Side Restaurant. East Side Restaurant, your German destination restaurant in Connecticut. Tiki-taka, hoy, hoy, hoy!